Marcus Thompson set the plate down slowly. His hands didn't shake. His voice didn't crack. "Shout at me again," he said, "and this ends." The entire restaurant went silent. Forks stopped mid-air. Conversations died. Every eye turned to Table 7, where a black single father in a waiter's uniform had just challenged one of the most powerful CEOs in America. Diana Whitmore stared at him, her mouth open, her face red with fury. She had no idea that this moment would change both their lives forever. That in 12 months, she'd be sitting in a hospital waiting room crying over a little girl she'd never met. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Comment below the city you're watching from. Let's see how far this story travels. The phone rang at 5:47 a.m. Marcus Thompson was already awake. He'd been awake for 20 minutes lying in the darkness of his small apartment staring at the ceiling doing the math in his head again. The same math he did every morning. Rent, $1,400, due in 6 days. Electric bill, $187, past due. Lily's medication, $340, non-negotiable. Grocery budget, whatever was left, which wasn't much. The phone kept ringing. Marcus reached over and grabbed it. The screen said, Children's Memorial Hospital. His heart stopped. "Mr. Thompson?" A woman's voice, professional, careful. "Yes, is Lily okay?" "What happened?" "Lily is fine, Mr. Thompson. She's stable. But Dr. Patterson would like to speak with you today about her upcoming evaluation. Can you come in at 2 p.m.? Marcus closed his eyes. 2 p.m. He was supposed to be at his second job at 2 p.m., the warehouse. The job that paid $16 an hour to lift boxes until his back screamed. "I'll be there," he said. "Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Have a good—" He hung up before she finished. Marcus sat up in bed and rubbed his face with both hands. 42 years old. MBA from Howard University. Former operations manager at a Fortune 500 company. 8 years of climbing the corporate ladder, doing everything right, playing by every rule. And now, he was a waiter. 3 jobs, 60-hour weeks. And still, every month, the numbers didn't add up. He walked down the narrow hallway to Lily's room and pushed the door open quietly. She was sleeping, her small body curled under a blanket covered in cartoon elephants. Her breathing was steady. The portable heart monitor beside her bed blinked its quiet rhythm. Lily was 8 years old. She had her mother's eyes, big and brown and full of trust. She had her mother's smile too, the one that made Marcus believe everything would be okay, even when it wasn't. Her mother, Angela, 2 years gone now, a drunk driver on Interstate 95. One phone call that split Marcus's life into before and after. Marcus leaned against the doorframe and watched his daughter breathe. In, out, in, out. The doctor said her heart condition was manageable, treatable, survivable. They also said the surgery would cost $87,000 after insurance. $87,000. Marcus had $400 in savings. He'd sold the house, sold Angela's car, sold everything that wasn't nailed down, moved from a 4-bedroom home in the suburbs to a 2-bedroom apartment above a laundromat that shook every time the machines ran. Still not enough. "Daddy?" Lily's voice was sleepy soft. "Hey, baby girl." Marcus walked to her bed and sat on the edge. "Go back to sleep. It's early." "Are you going to work?" "Soon." "Which job?" Marcus smiled, but it hurt. An 8-year-old shouldn't know her father had 3 jobs. An 8-year-old shouldn't understand what which job meant. "The restaurant tonight," he said. "The fancy one." Lily yawned. "The one with the mean people. They're not all mean." "You said a lady threw bread at you." Marcus laughed despite himself. "That was one time, and she missed. If someone threw bread at me, I'd throw it back." "No, you wouldn't." "I would, right at their head." Marcus brushed the hair from Lily's forehead. "That's not how we handle things. Remember, we stay calm, we stay strong, we don't let other people's ugliness make us ugly." "But what if they're really, really mean?" Marcus paused. It was a good question, a question he'd been asking himself for 3 years. Then we stand tall, he said finally. We look them in the eye, and we remind them that we're human beings too. Lily nodded like this made perfect sense. Okay, Daddy. Okay, now sleep. Mrs. Patterson is picking you up at 8 for school. I love you, Daddy. I love you more, baby girl. Marcus kissed her forehead and left the room. He stood in the hallway for a long moment, his hand pressed against the wall, his eyes closed. $87,000. How did a man save $87,000 when he was already drowning? The bus to Children's Memorial Hospital took 45 minutes. Marcus sat in the back wearing his cleanest khakis and a button-down shirt that Angela had bought him years ago. He'd ironed it twice this morning. He wanted to look like someone the doctors would take seriously. Dr. Patterson was a small woman with gray hair and kind eyes. She'd been treating Lily for 2 years. She was one of the few people in Marcus's life who looked at him like he was a person, not a problem. Marcus. She shook his hand. Thanks for coming in. Is something wrong? Sit down, please. Marcus sat. His stomach was tight. Lily's condition is stable, Dr. Patterson said. But her last evaluation showed some changes. The hole in her heart isn't closing the way we hoped. We need to move up the surgery timeline. Move it up to when? 3 months, 4 at the outside. Marcus felt the room tilt slightly. You said we had a year. I know, I'm sorry. These things aren't always predictable. Her heart is working harder than it should. If we wait too long... She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't have to. 3 months, Marcus said. Yes. I don't have the money. Dr. Patterson nodded. She'd heard this before. From him. From hundreds of other parents sitting in this same chair doing the same impossible math. There are programs, she said. Assistance funds. I can give you a list. I've applied to all of them, twice. I make too much to qualify and too little to afford it. I'm in the gap. I understand. Do you... The words came out sharper than Marcus intended. I'm sorry. I didn't mean... It's okay. Dr. Patterson leaned forward. Marcus, I've watched you fight for your daughter for 2 years. I've seen you come in here exhausted wearing the same clothes looking like you haven't slept in days. And every single time you're here, present, asking questions, taking notes, fighting. That's my job. She's my daughter. A lot of fathers would have given up by now. I'm not a lot of fathers. Dr. Patterson smiled sadly. No, you're not. She handed him a folder. Here's the updated treatment plan. The surgery team will need to meet with you next month. And Marcus. Yes. Whatever you're doing to keep going, keep doing it. Lily needs you. Not just your money. You. Marcus took the folder. His hands were steady. His voice was calm. Inside he was screaming. The warehouse shift was brutal. 4 hours of lifting boxes, scanning packages, loading trucks. Marcus's supervisor was a kid half his age who called everyone bro and thought management meant yelling. Thompson, you're falling behind. I'm on pace. You're supposed to be ahead of pace. Corporate's watching the numbers. Marcus kept lifting, box after box after box. His back ached. His shoulders burned. The scar on his knee from his college football days throbbed with every step. He thought about Angela. She used to massage his shoulders after long days. She used to tell him that this was temporary, that things would get better, that they were building something. Now she was gone. And Marcus was still building, still lifting, still carrying, but the load kept getting heavier. He got home at 6 p.m. Mrs. Patterson, his neighbor, no relation to the doctor, had made Lily dinner. Spaghetti with meatballs, Lily's favorite. Daddy. Lily ran to him the moment he walked through the door. Marcus caught her, lifted her up, held her tight. How was school? Good we learned about planets. Did you know Jupiter has 67 moons? I did not know that. 67, Daddy. That's so many. It is. That's almost as many as your stuffed animals. Lily laughed. The sound filled the small apartment, pushed back the shadows, made everything feel possible for just a moment. Marcus set her down. Did you eat? Mrs. Patterson made spaghetti. Did you say thank you? Yes, Daddy. Good girl. Now go brush your teeth. I have to leave for work in an hour. Lily's face fell. You're leaving again? I have to baby. But you just got home. I know. I'm sorry. Lily looked at him with those big brown eyes. Angela's eyes. Will you be here when I wake up? I'll try. Promise. Marcus knelt down so he was at her level. I promise I'll be here before you leave for school, even if I have to fly. You can't fly, Daddy. Don't be so sure. I have hidden powers. Lily giggled. You're silly. I'm your daddy. Same thing. She hugged him again tight, her small arms wrapped around his neck. Marcus breathed in the smell of her strawberry shampoo and crayons, and something purely perfectly her. This was why he kept going. This, right here. I love you, Daddy. I love you more, baby girl. Always. Le Bernardin was not the kind of restaurant Marcus Thompson would ever eat at. The appetizers cost more than his daily wage. The wine list had bottles worth more than his car. The clientele wore watches that cost more than his yearly salary. But for 3 years, this had been his kingdom. His battlefield. His survival. Marcus changed into his uniform in the staff room. Black pants, white shirt, black vest. He checked himself in the mirror, straightened his tie, made sure his name tag was perfectly aligned. Marcus T., not Mr. Thompson, not Marcus Thompson MBA, former operations manager. Just Marcus T., like he was a letter, not a person. He'd made peace with it. Mostly. Hey, Marcus. Tony, one of the other servers, clapped him on the shoulder. You're on the floor tonight, Section B. Section B. Yeah, sorry, man, I know. Section B was the power section, the tables where the big shots sat. The CEOs, the celebrities, the people who tipped big but demanded bigger. Who's on the reservation list? Tony checked his phone. Diana Whitmore, Table 7, Party of 1. Marcus knew the name. Everyone knew the name. Diana Whitmore, CEO of Whitmore Enterprises. Hotels, restaurants, real estate. An empire worth billions. She'd been on the cover of Forbes twice. Business Insider called her the most powerful woman in American hospitality. She was also known for something else. Something the business magazines didn't print. She's a nightmare, Tony said. Made a server cry last year at the Palm. Got a busboy fired at Per Se for looking at her wrong. They say I've handled worse. Have you? Marcus looked at Tony. I've buried my wife, worked 3 jobs for 2 years, and I'm trying to save enough money for my daughter's heart surgery. A rich woman with a bad attitude isn't going to break me. Tony nodded slowly. Fair enough. Good luck, man. I don't need luck. I need her to order fast and tip well. Marcus walked onto the floor. Diana Whitmore arrived at 8:15 p.m., 15 minutes late for her own reservation. She walked through the restaurant like she owned it. Probably because she owned restaurants like it. Her suit was immaculate navy blue, tailored perfectly. Probably cost more than Marcus's rent. Her heels clicked against the marble floor like a countdown. Click, click, click. Marcus approached Table 7 with his practiced smile. Good evening, ma'am. Welcome to Le Bernardin. My name is Marcus, and I'll be taking care of you tonight. Can I start you with something to drink? Diana didn't look at him. She was staring at her phone, scrolling through something, her jaw tight. Wine. Red. Something good. Of course. We have an excellent... I don't care. Just bring something expensive. You can pick. Yes, ma'am. Marcus went to the sommelier, selected a $400 bottle of Chateau Margaux, and brought it to the table with proper ceremony. Diana tasted it, made a face. This is too dry. I apologize. Would you prefer something with more fruit? I'd prefer competence. Bring me something else. Marcus kept his face neutral. Of course. He brought a second bottle, a burgundy this time, rich, velvety, universally praised. Diana took one sip. This is the same wine. It wasn't. It was a completely different grape, different region, different everything. But Marcus didn't argue. I'll find something else, ma'am. You do that. On the third bottle, Diana finally nodded. Fine, this will do. Now bring me the menu. Marcus handed her the menu. She barely glanced at it. What's good tonight? The Dover sole is exceptional. Prepared tableside. Also the lobster. I'll have the salmon. No garnish. Simple. Excellent choice. Any appetizers? Did I say I wanted appetizers? No, ma'am. Then don't ask stupid questions. Marcus felt something flicker in his chest. A spark, but he smothered it. Right away, ma'am. He put in the order. The kitchen started preparing. Marcus checked on his other tables. A lovely elderly couple celebrating their anniversary. A business dinner that was going smoothly, a young man clearly on a first date and visibly nervous. He gave each table his attention, his care, his professionalism. Then he went back to table 7. Diana was on her phone again. Her face was hard. Whatever she was reading, it wasn't good news. Ma'am, your salmon will be out in approximately. Change my order. Excuse me? I don't want salmon anymore. I want the sea bass. Of course. I'll inform the kitchen. Marcus went to the kitchen. The chef sighed, but started the new order. 5 minutes later, Marcus returned to table 7. Your sea bass will be... Actually, no. I want the salmon, but with asparagus. Not whatever you were going to serve. The salmon comes with... I don't care what it comes with. I want asparagus. Are you writing this down? Marcus didn't have a notepad. He never needed one. His memory was excellent. Salmon with asparagus. No garnish. Got it. And tell the chef to actually season it this time. Last time I was at a place like this, the food was bland as cardboard. I'll relay your feedback. Diana finally looked up at him. Her eyes were cold, appraising like she was evaluating livestock. You're new here. I've worked here for 3 years, ma'am. You'd think you'd be better at this by now. The spark in Marcus's chest flickered again. Brighter this time, but he smiled. I'll get your order in right away. The salmon came out perfectly. Golden, seared, delicate, beautiful. With garnish. Marcus didn't notice until he was halfway to the table. The chef had put a small sprig of dill on the plate. Decorative, harmless. But the moment Diana saw it, her face changed. What is this? Your salmon, ma'am, with asparagus as requested. I said no garnish. I apologize. I'll have the kitchen. Are you deaf or just stupid? The words cut through the restaurant's quiet hum. Heads turned. Conversations stopped. Marcus stood very still. I apologize for the error, ma'am. I'll have it corrected immediately. You'll do more than that. You'll explain to me how a simple instruction like no garnish is too complicated for you to understand. Do you speak English? Do you comprehend basic words? The elderly couple at the next table exchanged uncomfortable glances. The businessman looked away. The nervous young man on his date stared at his plate. I understand completely, ma'am. I confirmed your order as salmon with asparagus, no garnish. There was a miscommunication with the kitchen. Miscommunication. Diana laughed, but there was no humor in it. Is that what you call incompetence now? Miscommunication? Ma'am, I'll have this corrected. Do you have any idea who I am? There it was. The phrase Marcus had heard 100 times from 100 different mouths. The phrase that was supposed to make him shrink, bow, apologize, grovel. I'm aware of who you are, ma'am. Then you should be aware that I could have you fired with one phone call. I could make sure you never work in a restaurant in this city again. I could... Ma'am? Marcus kept his voice calm, level. I'd like to resolve this for you. If you'll allow me to take the plate back. I don't want you to take the plate back. I want you to explain why I should tolerate this level of service. I want you to explain why I'm paying $500 for a meal and being served by someone who can't follow basic instructions. Marcus reached for the plate, and Diana Whitmore did something that changed everything. She grabbed his wrist. Her grip was tight. Her nails dug into his skin. I'm not finished talking to you. Marcus looked down at her hand on his wrist. Then he looked up at her face. Something shifted. For 3 years, Marcus Thompson had been swallowing his pride, absorbing insults, taking abuse with a smile. He'd done it because he needed this job, needed the tips, needed every dollar to keep Lily alive. But this woman, this wealthy, powerful, untouchable woman, she had her hand on him. She was touching him without permission. She was treating him like he was property, like he was nothing. And Marcus thought about Lily. He thought about what he'd told her that morning. We stand tall. We look them in the eye. We remind them we're human beings too. What kind of father would he be if he couldn't follow his own advice? What kind of man? Marcus gently but firmly removed Diana's hand from his wrist. He set the plate down on the table. He straightened to his full height, 6 feet 2 inches, of a man who had played college football, earned an MBA, buried his wife, and worked himself to the bone for 2 years without breaking. And he looked Diana Whitmore directly in the eyes. Shout at me again, he said, his voice quiet but clear, and this ends. The restaurant went completely silent. A fork clattered somewhere. A glass stopped mid-raise. Even the soft background music seemed to pause, like the whole world was holding its breath. Diana stared at him, her mouth open, her eyes wide. Excuse me? You heard me. The manager was rushing over his face, pale, his hands fluttering. Mr. Thompson, I'll handle this. No. Marcus didn't take his eyes off Diana. I'm handling it. Diana's face flushed red. Do you know who you're talking to? I know exactly who I'm talking to. A woman who's had a bad day and decided to take it out on the nearest target. A woman who thinks her money gives her permission to treat people like garbage. A woman who just put her hands on me like I was something she owned. How dare? You've changed your order 4 times. You've sent back 2 bottles of wine that were exactly what you ordered. And now you're screaming at me about garnish that you requested. I confirmed it. Twice. I have it memorized because that's my job. That's what I do. I pay attention to every detail because people like you expect perfection and look for any excuse to make people like me feel small. Diana opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Marcus continued. I am not small. I'm a father. I have an MBA. I used to run operations for a company that would make your hotel chain look like a bed and breakfast. I'm working here 3 jobs, 60 hours a week because my daughter needs heart surgery and insurance doesn't cover it. I'm fighting for her life every single day. And I will not let you treat me like I'm less than human because I'm wearing this uniform instead of a suit. The manager looked like he was about to faint. Mr. Thompson, please. Marcus ignored him. So here's how this goes. You can apologize. You can let me serve you the meal you ordered with the respect that every human being deserves. Or you can leave. But you will not touch me again. You will not scream at me again. And you will not treat me like I'm beneath you. Because I'm not. I'm standing right here, looking you in the eye, and I'm telling you I matter. My dignity matters. And tonight, that's non-negotiable. The entire restaurant held its breath. Diana Whitmore, CEO of a billion-dollar empire, sat frozen in her chair. And then something happened that no one expected. Her face crumpled. Not with anger, not with indignation, with something that looked like recognition, like pain. Like the walls she'd built around herself were suddenly cracking. She opened her mouth, and for the first time in a very long time, Diana Whitmore didn't know what to say. The silence stretched for what felt like hours. Diana Whitmore sat there, her perfectly manicured hands flat on the white tablecloth, her chest rising and falling with quick, shallow breaths. The mask she wore, the one she'd built over 20 years in boardrooms and hostile takeovers, and negotiations where showing weakness meant losing everything, that mask was slipping. And she couldn't stop it. Marcus stood his ground. He didn't move, didn't apologize, didn't take back a single word. The manager hovered nearby, sweat beading on his forehead. "Mr. Thompson, please, if you would just give us a moment." Diana's voice was barely above a whisper. The manager blinked. "Ma'am, I said give us a moment, please." It was the please that shocked everyone. The word sounded foreign coming from her mouth, like she'd forgotten how to use it and was just now remembering. The manager backed away slowly, still looking like he expected the building to collapse at any moment. Marcus remained standing, waiting. Diana looked up at him. Her eyes were wet. Not crying, not yet, but close. So close. "Sit down," she said. "I'm working." "I'm asking you to sit down, please." Marcus glanced around the restaurant. Every single person was watching. The elderly couple, the businessman, the nervous young man on his date. The other servers, the sommelier, even the kitchen staff had gathered near the door, peering out. "5 minutes, Marcus said. "Then I need to check on my other tables." He pulled out the chair across from Diana and sat. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then Diana laughed. It was a strange sound, broken, hollow. Nothing like the sharp, mocking laugh from before. "You know what's funny?" she said. "I've had people stand up to me before. Board members, competitors. My ex-husband when he still had the spine for it. But never like that. Never someone who had everything to lose and did it anyway. I didn't have everything to lose. I have my daughter. That's all I have. And if I let people like you make me into someone she'd be ashamed of, then I've lost her anyway." Diana flinched like he'd struck her. "Someone she'd be ashamed of," she repeated quietly. That's a hell of a thing to say." "It's the truth." "I know. That's what makes it hurt." She picked up her wine glass, then set it down without drinking. Her hands were trembling slightly. Marcus noticed. "I was out of line," Diana said. "Everything you said was right. I changed my order 4 times. I did ask for garnish, I remember now, and I grabbed your arm, which was—" She shook her head. "Inexcusable. I'm sorry." Marcus studied her face. He'd been waiting for this moment, the apology, but now that it was here, he wasn't sure what to do with it. He'd expected her to double down, to get him fired, to make his life miserable. He hadn't expected this. "Why?" he asked. "Why what? Why did you treat me like that? You didn't walk in here planning to destroy someone's night. Something happened. What was it?" Diana stared at him. "Why do you care?" "I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't. But I've got an 8-year-old daughter who thinks I'm a superhero, and every night I go home and try to figure out how to live up to that. Part of living up to it is trying to understand people instead of just hating them, even when they make it really hard." Diana was quiet for a long time. When she finally spoke, her voice was different, softer, younger somehow, like the armor had cracked enough to let something vulnerable slip through. "My divorce was finalized this morning," she said. 18 years of marriage, and it ended with a judge's signature and a handshake from lawyers. Richard gets the house in the Hamptons. I get the apartment in the city. We divided our life like it was a balance sheet. I'm sorry. Don't be. He was cheating on me for 6 years. I found out because his mistress sent me an email. A detailed email, with photos. Diana laughed again, that same broken sound. She wanted me to know. She thought it would make me leave him so she could have him. Joke's on her, I did leave him, but he didn't want her either. He found someone younger. There's always someone younger. Marcus didn't say anything. He just listened. And then this afternoon, my board of directors called an emergency meeting. Do you know what that means in my world? It means they're coming for you. They want me out. They think I'm too aggressive, too difficult. They actually used those words. 22 years I built that company. I started with one hotel and turned it into an empire. And now they want to push me out because I'm difficult. Are you, difficult? Diana met his eyes. For a moment, Marcus thought she was going to get angry again, but instead, she nodded slowly. Yes, I am. I'm difficult and demanding, and I hold people to impossible standards because I hold myself to impossible standards. I built everything I have by being tougher and smarter and meaner than anyone in the room. That's how women survive in my industry. You don't get to be soft. You don't get to be kind. You show any weakness, and they eat you alive. That sounds exhausting. It is. Diana's voice cracked. God, it is. Do you know how long it's been since someone asked me how I was doing? Actually asked not as a formality before getting to what they really wanted. When's the last time you let anyone close enough to ask? Diana didn't answer. She didn't have to. Marcus leaned forward slightly. My wife died 2 years ago, car accident. Drunk driver. She was coming home from her book club. She loved book clubs, couldn't stop talking about whatever she was reading. One night she was telling me about some novel, something with a long title I can't remember, and then she kissed me and walked out the door. And that was the last time I saw her alive. Diana's hand moved toward him, almost involuntarily, then stopped. Her name was Angela, Marcus continued. And after she died, I wanted to crawl into a hole and never come out. I wanted to quit everything, my job, my life, all of it. But I couldn't. Because I had Lily, my daughter. She was 6 years old and she'd lost her mother and she needed me to keep going. So I did. How? 1 day at a time, 1 hour at a time, sometimes 1 minute at a time. I sold our house because I couldn't afford the mortgage on one salary. I moved us into a tiny apartment. I took whatever jobs I could find that would give me flexible hours so I could be there for her. And when she was diagnosed with a heart condition that requires surgery we can't afford, I took on more jobs. Because that's what you do. You keep going. You don't stop. Diana was staring at him like she was seeing him for the first time. Not as a waiter. Not as someone beneath her. As a person. Your daughter needs heart surgery. Yes. How much? $87,000 after insurance. And you're trying to save that by working here. Here, a warehouse during the day. Weekend shifts at a grocery store. It's not enough. It's never enough. But I keep trying because the alternative is giving up, and I can't give up on her. Diana reached into her purse. For a moment, Marcus thought she was going to pull out her checkbook, and he tensed. He didn't want her money. He hadn't told her about Lily to get a handout. But instead, she pulled out her phone. She stared at the screen for a moment, then turned it toward him. It was a photo. A young woman, maybe 25, with Diana's eyes and a bright, genuine smile. My daughter, Diana said. Catherine, Katie. She's 26 now. We haven't spoken in 3 years. Why not? Because I was never there. I was always working, always chasing the next deal, the next acquisition, the next victory. I missed her dance recitals, her graduation, her first heartbreak. I told myself I was building something for her that all the sacrifice would be worth it. But somewhere along the way, she stopped waiting for me to show up. And one day, she told me she didn't want to be like me, that I'd taught her everything about success and nothing about love. Diana's voice broke on the last word. I tried to fix it. I called. I sent gifts. I offered to fly her anywhere she wanted, do anything she wanted. But she said she didn't want my money. She wanted a mother. And I didn't know how to be one. I'd forgotten. Or maybe I never learned. Marcus thought about Lily. About her drawing of him as a superhero. About the way she hugged him every night before he left for work, like she was afraid he might not come back. It's not too late, he said. You don't know that. No, I don't. But I know that 3 years isn't forever. I know that people can change. I know that the fact that you still carry her picture means you haven't given up, even if you've convinced yourself you have. Diana wiped her eyes quickly, almost angrily, like the tears were a betrayal. Why are you being kind to me, after everything I said to you? Because you apologized. Because I can see you're hurting. And because my wife used to say that hurt people, and the only way to break the cycle is to respond to pain with compassion instead of more pain. Your wife sounds like she was a remarkable woman. She was. She really was. They sat in silence for a moment. Around them, the restaurant had slowly resumed its rhythm. People were eating again, talking again, though Marcus could feel eyes still darting toward table 7 every few seconds. I should let you get back to work, Diana said finally. I've taken enough of your time, and probably cost you your job. We'll see about that. If they fire you, Don't. Whatever you're about to offer, don't. I don't want your guilt money. I don't want you to fix things for me because you feel bad about how you acted. That's not why I told you about my daughter. Then why did you? Marcus considered the question. Because you asked. Because for a second there, you stopped being the CEO everyone's afraid of, and you were just a person having the worst day of her life. And because I've had a lot of worse days, so I know what they look like. Diana nodded slowly. Will you at least let me leave you a decent tip? That's different. That's just you paying for service. Then I'll pay for service. And maybe, she hesitated, maybe you could bring me that salmon, the one with the garnish. I think I actually did order it that way. Marcus almost smiled. Almost. Coming right up. He stood and picked up the plate that had been sitting between them the whole time, now cold. I'll have the kitchen make you a fresh one. Thank you. And Marcus. He turned back. For what it's worth, your daughter is lucky to have you. Not every father would fight the way you're fighting. Every father should. Maybe, but not every father does. Marcus took the plate to the kitchen. The chef looked at him like he'd grown a second head. What the hell happened out there? Long story. She didn't get you fired. Not yet. That woman's gotten 3 people fired at other restaurants. You tell her off in front of everybody, and you're still standing here. Marcus shrugged. She's having a bad day. She's having a bad... The chef shook his head. Man, you're something else. Can you remake this fresh? For her. After all that. For her. Please. The chef muttered something in French, but started preparing a new plate. Marcus walked back onto the floor. The manager intercepted him immediately. Mr. Thompson, my office, now. Marcus followed him to the small office in the back. The manager closed the door and turned to face him, his expression a mixture of fury and fear. Do you have any idea what you've done? I stood up for myself. You antagonized Diana Whitmore. Diana Whitmore. She could destroy this restaurant with one review, one phone call, one post on social media. She apologized. The manager blinked. She what? She apologized. We talked. She's staying to finish her meal. You talked? Yes. To Diana Whitmore. That's what I said. The manager sat down heavily in his chair. In 15 years of managing restaurants, I have never seen anything like that. Never. You should be fired. I should fire you right now. Marcus felt his stomach tighten. He needed this job. Lily needed him to keep this job. But, he said, because there was clearly a but coming. But she's still there. She's not screaming. She's not demanding your head. She's sitting quietly, waiting for her food. The manager rubbed his temples. I don't understand what happened. I told her she was being cruel, and she realized I was right. That's not how it works with people like her. Maybe it should be. The manager looked at him for a long moment. You're either the bravest server I've ever had, or the stupidest. I haven't decided which. Probably both. Go finish your shift. Don't antagonize any more billionaires. No promises. Marcus left the office and went back to work. He checked on his other tables. The elderly couple told him their anniversary dinner was lovely. The businessman left a generous tip. The nervous young man on his date gave him a thumbs up behind his date's back. When Diana's salmon was ready, Marcus brought it to table 7. She was still there looking out the window at the street below her phone, face down on the table. "Your salmon, ma'am. Fresh. With garnish." Diana looked at the plate, then up at him. A small smile crossed her face, the first genuine smile he'd seen from her all night. "It looks perfect. Thank you, Marcus." "You're welcome." He started to turn away, but her voice stopped him. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Your MBA, where did you get it?" "Howard University." "And you were in operations management?" "Yes. I ran distribution logistics for a pharmaceutical company. 8 years. I was on track for VP before Angela died." "Why didn't you go back?" "After things settled." Marcus almost laughed. "Things never settled. Lily got sick 6 months after the funeral. I couldn't keep executive hours and take care of her. I couldn't travel anymore. I needed flexibility, not a corner office, so I made a choice." "Do you regret it?" "Not for a second. I'd give up 1,000 careers for one more day with my daughter." Diana looked down at her plate. "I chose the career. Every time. For 30 years I chose the career." "It's not too late to choose differently." "You keep saying that." "Because I keep meaning it." Diana picked up her fork and took a bite of the salmon. She chewed slowly, thoughtfully. "This is excellent," she said. "Please tell the chef." "I will." "And Marcus." "Yes." "After your shift, if you're not too exhausted, would you have a cup of coffee with me? I'd like to talk more. About your daughter. About your wife. About how you managed to keep going when everything fell apart." Marcus hesitated. This wasn't how these encounters usually ended. The wealthy and the working class didn't sit down for coffee. They existed in parallel worlds that occasionally intersected but never merged. But something had shifted tonight. Something real. "I get off at midnight," he said. "I'll wait." Marcus nodded and went back to his section. For the next 3 hours, he worked with his usual efficiency, his usual professionalism, his usual quiet dignity. But something was different. He could feel it. The weight he'd been carrying for 2 years felt slightly lighter. He didn't know why. He didn't know what was going to happen after his shift, or tomorrow, or next month. He didn't know if Diana Whitmore was going to remember this conversation or forget it by morning. But for the first time in a long time, Marcus Thompson felt something he'd almost forgotten how to feel. Hope. At 11:45, Diana called him over. "I'm going to settle my bill now," she said. "I have some calls to make before midnight." Marcus brought her the check. She glanced at it briefly, then pulled out a credit card. "Add 40%, she said. "Ma'am, that's not meaty, add 40%. That's not guilt money. That's recognition of exceptional service under difficult circumstances. And if your manager has a problem with it, tell him to call me." Marcus ran the card and brought back the receipt. Diana signed it, then stood and gathered her things. "I'll be at the cafe across the street," she said. "The one with the blue awning. Join me when you're done." "I will." Diana started to walk away, then stopped. She turned back to face him. "You were right, by the way, about what you said earlier." "About what?" "About wealth not buying permission to be cruel. I've spent my whole life surrounded by people who let me get away with terrible behavior because they were afraid of me or wanted something from me. I'd forgotten what it was like to have someone just be honest. Everyone deserves honesty." "They do. They really do." Diana paused. "Your wife, Angela, she taught you that?" "She taught me a lot of things." "She sounds like she was an extraordinary woman." "She was. She really was." Diana nodded once, then walked toward the exit. Every head in the restaurant turned to watch her go. At the door, she paused and looked back at Marcus one more time. Then she was gone. Marcus stood there for a moment, trying to process everything that had just happened. The confrontation, the apology, the conversation, the invitation. Tony appeared at his elbow. "Dude, what the hell?" "I don't know." "Did she seriously apologize to you?" "Yes." "And now you're meeting her for coffee?" "Apparently." Tony shook his head slowly. "This is the weirdest shift I've ever worked, and I once had a guy propose to his waitress with a ring hidden in his soup." "What happened?" "She said no." He cried. "The soup got cold. Bad night all around." Marcus laughed. It felt strange laughing. He hadn't done much of it lately. "Go finish your tables," Tony said. "I'll cover if you need to leave early." "Thanks, man." "And Marcus, whatever happens next, I've never seen anyone do what you did tonight, standing up to her like that. That took guts." "It wasn't guts. It was just, I was tired of being invisible." "Well, you're definitely not invisible anymore." Marcus finished his shift at 11:58. He changed out of his uniform, putting his regular clothes back on jeans, a plain t-shirt, the same jacket he'd worn for 3 years. He looked at himself in the staff room mirror. What was he doing? Having coffee with a billionaire, talking about his dead wife and his sick daughter with a woman who'd been screaming at him 3 hours ago. This wasn't his world. This wasn't his life. But then again, nothing about the last 2 years had been his life. He'd been improvising since Angela died, making it up as he went along, doing whatever it took to keep Lily alive and healthy and loved. Maybe this was just another improvisation. He walked out of the restaurant and crossed the street to the cafe with the blue awning. Through the window, he could see Diana sitting at a corner table, 2 cups of coffee in front of her. She looked up when he came in. Her face was different now, softer, more open, like she'd taken off more than just her jacket in the past few hours. "You came," she said. "I said I would." Marcus sat down across from her. The coffee was hot, strong, exactly what he needed after an 8-hour shift on his feet. "Thank you," he said, taking a sip. "Thank you for coming. I know this is, unusual." "That's one word for it." Diana smiled. It transformed her face, made her look younger, less guarded. "I've been thinking," she said, "about what you told me. About your daughter. About the surgery. I didn't tell you that too. I know you didn't. That's why I'm bringing it up. Because you told me as a father who loves his daughter, not as a man looking for a handout, and that's exactly why I want to help." Marcus felt his defenses rising. "I told you I don't want—" "Listen, please. Just listen." He closed his mouth and waited. Diana leaned forward. "I own 47 hotels, 12 restaurants, 600 employees in hospitality alone. And do you know what my biggest problem is? Finding people who understand service. Real service. Not scripts and procedures, but the actual art of making people feel valued and heard." "Okay." "Tonight, you did something I've never seen anyone do. You stood up for your dignity without losing your professionalism. You set boundaries without being cruel. You told me the truth when everyone else would have just apologized and taken the abuse. And then when I apologized, you listened. You didn't gloat. You didn't rub it in. You treated me like a human being having a hard day." Marcus waited. "That's a skill," Diana continued. "That's a rare, valuable, teachable skill, and I need someone who has it running my customer experience division. You're offering me a job. I'm offering you a career. Director of Customer Experience for Whitmore Enterprises. 6-figure salary, full benefits, including health insurance that would cover your daughter's surgery." Marcus stared at her. The words weren't computing. They didn't make sense in the context of his life, his reality. "You're joking." "I don't joke about business, ever. You can't just... You don't know anything about me. You met me 3 hours ago. I know you have an MBA from Howard. I know you ran operations for a pharmaceutical company for 8 years. I know you gave up your career to take care of your daughter. I know you work 3 jobs to pay for medical treatment insurance won't cover. And I know that when a billionaire screamed at you in front of a room full of people, you stood your ground with more grace and dignity than most executives I've ever met." Diana paused. "I've interviewed hundreds of people for leadership positions. I can read people. It's how I built my company. And I'm telling you, Marcus Thompson, you're exactly what I'm looking for." Marcus didn't know what to say. His mind was racing, doing the math. A 6-figure salary, full benefits, insurance that would cover Lily's surgery. This could change everything, but it felt too easy, too sudden, too much like a fairy tale. "Why?" he asked finally. "The real reason." Diana was quiet for a moment. When she spoke, her voice was different again, raw, unguarded. "Because you reminded me of something I forgot. That people are more important than profit. That dignity isn't something you earn with money. That I've spent 30 years building an empire and losing everyone who mattered in the process." She paused. "And because maybe if I help you, I can start making up for all the people I didn't help along the way." That's a lot of guilt. It's not guilt. It's clarity. You gave me that tonight. The least I can do is give you a chance." Marcus looked at her. Really looked. Past the expensive clothes and the perfect makeup and the armor she wore like a second skin, he saw a lonely woman who'd sacrificed everything for success and was only now realizing the cost. He saw himself in a way. A different version, a different path, but the same core question. What are you willing to lose for what you're trying to build? "I need to think about it," he said. Diana nodded. "Of course. Take whatever time you need." She slid a business card across the table. "My personal line. Call me when you're ready. Whether it's tomorrow or next week or next month." Marcus took the card. It was heavy, expensive, the kind of card that cost more to print than he made in an hour. "Can I ask you something?" he said. "Anything." "Your daughter, Katie. Have you tried calling her recently?" Diana's face tightened. No, I've been afraid." "Afraid of what?" "That she'll say no again. That she won't pick up. That I've lost her completely." Marcus thought about Lily. About her arms around his neck. About her voice in the dark asking if he'd be there when she woke up. "Call her," he said. "Tonight, when you get home." "I don't know what I'd say. Tell her what you told me, that you're scared, that you made mistakes, that you want to try again." He paused. 3 years is a long time, but it's not forever, not unless you let it be. Diana's eyes filled with tears. She didn't wipe them away this time. "You're a good man, Marcus Thompson." "I'm a tired man, but I'm trying." "That's more than most people can say." They sat in silence for a while, drinking their coffee. Two strangers who'd been thrown together by circumstance and found something unexpected understanding. Finally, Marcus looked at his watch. 12:47 a.m. "I need to go," he said. "I promised my daughter I'd be there when she wakes up." Diana nodded. "Go. Be with her." Marcus stood. He reached out and shook Diana's hand. Her grip was different now, not aggressive, not possessive, just human. "Thank you," he said. "For the offer, for the conversation, for all of it. Thank you for not letting me be cruel without consequences. I think I needed that more than I knew." Marcus walked to the door, then stopped. He turned back. "Call your daughter," he said again. "Tonight." Diana smiled through her tears. "I will. I promise." Marcus nodded once, then walked out into the night. The streets were quiet. The air was cold. His feet ached and his back hurt, and he had to be at the warehouse in 6 hours. But none of that mattered. Because for the first time in 2 years, Marcus Thompson could see a way forward. Not just survival, but something more. A chance to build something. A chance to give Lily the life Angela had dreamed of for her. All because he'd refused to be invisible. All because he'd said 6 words that changed everything. "Shout at me again and this ends." He walked to the bus stop, pulled out his phone, and called Mrs. Patterson. "Hello, Marcus. Is everything okay?" "Everything's fine. I just wanted to let you know I'm on my way home." "How's Lily?" "Sleeping like an angel. She wanted to wait up for you, but she couldn't keep her eyes open." "That's okay. Tell her. Tell her Daddy's coming home." He hung up and waited for the bus. Above him, the city lights drowned out the stars. But Marcus didn't need stars tonight. He had something better. He had hope. The bus ride home took 47 minutes. Marcus sat in the back, Diana's business card in his hand, turning it over and over between his fingers. The weight of it felt impossible. A small rectangle of paper that could change everything. Director of Customer Experience, 6-figure salary, full benefits, insurance that would cover Lily's surgery. He wanted to believe it. God, he wanted to believe it so badly, his chest hurt. But 20 years of living in the real world had taught him that things like this didn't happen. Not to people like him. Not to black men working 3 jobs and drowning in medical debt. People like Diana Whitmore didn't offer careers to waiters they'd just met. They didn't sit in cafes at midnight talking about their estranged daughters. They didn't cry in front of strangers. And yet, she had done all of those things. He'd watched it happen. The bus stopped, and Marcus got off walking the 3 blocks to his apartment building. The laundromat on the first floor was closed, but he could still smell the detergent and fabric softener that permeated everything in this building. He climbed the stairs quietly, unlocked the door, and stepped inside. Mrs. Patterson was asleep on the couch, a book open on her chest. Marcus gently took the book, marked her page, and set it on the coffee table. She stirred. "Marcus? What time is it?" "Almost 2. I'm sorry I'm so late." "It's fine, honey. Lily went down around 9. She fought it, but she was exhausted." "Thank you. For everything." Mrs. Patterson sat up slowly, her joints creaking. She was 73 years old, a retired teacher who'd lived in this building for 30 years. When Marcus and Lily moved in, she'd taken one look at them and decided they were hers to protect. "You look different tonight," she said, studying his face. "Something happened." "Yeah, something happened. Good something or bad something." Marcus sat down in the chair across from her. "I don't know yet. Maybe both." He told her everything. The confrontation, Diana Whitmore, the apology, the conversation, the job offer. When he finished, Mrs. Patterson was quiet for a long moment. "What are you going to do?" she asked finally. "I don't know." "Yes, you do. You're just scared to say it out loud." Marcus looked at her. She had that expression on her face, the one she'd probably used on thousands of students over her career, the one that said she could see right through him. "I want to take it," he admitted. "I want to take it so badly I can taste it. But what if it's not real? What if she wakes up tomorrow and forgets the whole thing? What if this is just some rich person's guilt that disappears by morning? What if it doesn't? Then I'm gambling everything on a stranger's promise. You gamble everything every day, Marcus. You gamble on that restaurant keeping you employed. You gamble on those warehouse shifts not destroying your back. You gamble on your body holding up long enough to keep working 3 jobs. Mrs. Patterson leaned forward. "This isn't a bigger gamble. It's a different one. And it might be the one that finally pays off. Or it might blow up in my face. Or it might save your daughter's life." The words hit Marcus like a punch to the chest. He closed his eyes. "Go to bed," Mrs. Patterson said gently. "Sleep on it. The answer will be clearer in the morning." "I have to be at the warehouse at 8. "Then you'd better sleep fast." She patted his shoulder as she walked past him to the door. "Whatever you decide, Marcus, you're a good father. Angela would be proud of you." "I hope so. I know so. Good night." She left. Marcus sat alone in the quiet apartment, Diana's card still in his hand. He got up and walked to Lily's room. The door was open a crack. He pushed it wider and stepped inside. She was sleeping exactly the way she always did, curled on her side with one arm wrapped around her stuffed elephant. The heart monitor blinked its steady rhythm. In, out. In. Out. Marcus knelt beside her bed. He reached out and brushed a strand of hair from her forehead. "Hey, baby girl," he whispered. "Daddy's home." Lily stirred, but didn't wake. "I met someone tonight." Marcus continued, his voice barely audible. "A woman who was having the worst day of her life. She was mean to me. Really mean. But I didn't let her be mean, Lily. I stood up for myself just like I told you to do. And you know what? She apologized. She actually apologized." Lily's breathing stayed steady. "And then she offered me a job. A real job. The kind of job that could pay for your surgery. The kind of job that could let me be home when you go to sleep and still be there when you wake up. The kind of job that could give you the life your mama wanted for you." Marcus felt tears sliding down his cheeks. He didn't wipe them away. "I'm scared, baby. I'm so scared. I've been scared for 2 years, and I'm tired of being scared. But I don't know how to stop. I don't know how to trust that good things can happen to us anymore." He leaned forward and kissed Lily's forehead. "But I'm going to try. For you. I'm going to try." He stood up, took one more look at his daughter, and walked to his own room. He set Diana's card on the nightstand, lay down on his bed fully clothed, and stared at the ceiling. Sleep didn't come for a long time. But when it did, for the first time in months, Marcus didn't dream about drowning. The phone rang at 6:47 a.m. Marcus was already awake, had been awake for an hour, lying in bed and thinking. When he saw Diana Whitmore's name on the screen, his heart started pounding. "Hello?" "Marcus. Good morning. I hope I didn't wake you." "No, I was up. I wanted to call you. I couldn't wait." Diana's voice sounded different, lighter, almost giddy. "I called her, last night, after you left." It took Marcus a moment to understand. "Katie." "Yes, Katie. I called her. It was 3 in the morning, but I called her anyway. I thought she wouldn't pick up. I was sure she wouldn't pick up. But she did." "What happened?" "I told her what you said, that I was scared, that I'd made mistakes, that I wanted to try again." Diana's voice cracked. "And do you know what she said?" "What?" "She said, 'It's about time, Mom.'" Marcus closed his eyes. Something warm spread through his chest. "We talked for 2 hours," Diana continued. 2 hours, Marcus. We haven't talked for 2 hours since she was a teenager. We cried. We yelled at each other. We cried some more. And then we made plans. She's coming to visit next month. She's bringing her boyfriend. I didn't even know she had a boyfriend." "I'm happy for you, Diana. It's because of you. You told me to call her. You told me it wasn't too late. If you hadn't said that, I never would have done it. You would have eventually." "No, I wouldn't have. I was too scared, too proud. But you showed me what courage looks like, Marcus. You showed me what it means to fight for the people you love, even when you're terrified." Marcus sat up in bed. "Diana, I know you need time to think about my offer. I know this is all happening very fast. But I wanted you to know that whatever you decide last night changed my life. You changed my life. And I'll never forget that." Marcus didn't know what to say. "I have a board meeting in an hour," Diana said. "They're going to try to push me out. But you know what? I don't care anymore. Let them try. I've got something more important now. I've got my daughter back. Everything else is just noise." "Good luck with your meeting." "Thank you. And Marcus, when you're ready to talk about that job, call me. Day or night. I'll be waiting." She hung up. Marcus sat on the edge of his bed, the phone in his hand, his mind spinning. This was real. This was actually real. He got up, showered, changed into his warehouse clothes, and went to make breakfast. Lily was already awake, sitting at the kitchen table with a bowl of cereal. "Daddy, you're here." "I told you I would be." Lily jumped up and ran to him, wrapping her arms around his waist. Marcus held her tight. "Mrs. Patterson made me cereal," Lily said. She said you got home really late. I did. But I'm here now. Good. Lily pulled back and looked up at him with those big brown eyes. You look different, Daddy. Second person in 12 hours who'd said that. Different how? I don't know. You look lighter, like when you used to smile before. Marcus felt his throat tighten. I'm trying, baby. I'm really trying. I know, Daddy. Lily hugged him again. I love you. I love you more. 3 days later, Marcus called Diana. I want to meet, he said, to talk about the job. In person. Of course. When? Tomorrow, if you're free. I'll make myself free. Where? Somewhere neutral. Not your office, not the restaurant. Somewhere we can just talk. There's a park near my apartment. Central Park, the Conservatory Garden. Do you know it? I can find it. Tomorrow at noon. I'll be there. Marcus hung up and took a deep breath. He'd made the call. Now he had to see it through. He spent the rest of the day at the warehouse lifting boxes, scanning packages, doing the work that paid his bills. But his mind was somewhere else entirely. It was running through scenarios, possibilities, questions he needed to ask. That night he sat down with a notebook and made a list. Not a list of demands, but a list of concerns. Things he needed to understand before he could say yes. Why me? What exactly would the job entail? What were her real motivations? Was this charity disguised as opportunity? How would her board react to hiring a waiter off the street? What happened if she got pushed out of her own company? There were no easy answers, but Marcus had learned a long time ago that easy answers weren't worth much. The hard questions were the ones that mattered. He arrived at the conservatory garden at 11:45. Diana was already there sitting on a bench near the fountain wearing clothes that probably cost more than Marcus's rent. But she didn't look like a CEO today. She looked like a woman enjoying a rare moment of peace. She stood when she saw him approach. Marcus, thank you for coming. Thank you for meeting me. They sat down together on the bench. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The sound of the fountain filled the silence. I have questions, Marcus said finally. I expected you would. Ask me anything. Why me? The real reason, not the speech you gave at the cafe. Diana considered the question. Because you're exactly what my company needs and exactly what I didn't know I was looking for. My hotels have a reputation for luxury, but also for coldness. Our customer satisfaction scores are good, not great. We've been trying to figure out why for years. Consultants' training programs, incentive structures. Nothing moves the needle. And you think I can fix that? I think you understand something that most of my executives don't. You understand what it feels like to be on the receiving end of service. You understand that the person bringing your food or cleaning your room is a human being with a whole life outside of that moment. You understand dignity. That's a lot to put on one person. It's not about one person, it's about leadership, about setting a tone, about building a culture where treating people well isn't a policy, it's a reflex. Diana paused. That night at the restaurant when you stood up to me, you didn't just defend yourself. You defended a principle. You showed everyone watching that basic respect isn't something you earn with money or status. It's something every person deserves. That's a pretty speech. It's the truth. Marcus nodded slowly. What would the job actually look like day to day? You'd be responsible for revamping our customer experience standards across all properties. Training programs, feedback systems, conflict resolution protocols. You'd travel to our different locations, observe how staff interact with guests, identify problems, implement solutions. Travel. How much? As much or as little as you need. We can work around your daughter's schedule. Remote work is possible most of the time. I'm not trying to trap you in a job that takes you away from Lily. I'm trying to give you a job that lets you take care of her while also building something meaningful. And the salary, the benefits. Diana handed him a folder. It's all in there. I had HR put together a formal offer. Base salary, bonus structure, benefits package, including comprehensive health insurance that would cover Lily's surgery with no out-of-pocket maximum. Marcus opened the folder. His hands were shaking slightly. He scanned the numbers, not quite believing what he was seeing. The base salary was $145,000, plus performance bonuses up to 30%, plus a signing bonus of $20,000, plus insurance that would cover everything. Everything. He closed the folder. This is real, he said. It's real. You're not going to wake up tomorrow and change your mind. I've never changed my mind about a hiring decision in my life. I'm not going to start now. Marcus looked at her. Really looked, searching for any sign of manipulation, any hint of an agenda he wasn't seeing. He found nothing but sincerity. What about your board? He asked. You said they were trying to push you out. What if they succeed? What happens to this job then? Diana smiled, a real smile. They tried, yesterday. They called for a vote of no confidence. What happened? They lost, badly. It turns out that when you stop trying to control everything and start actually listening to people, they tend to support you. She paused. I went into that meeting different than I've ever been. I didn't fight. I didn't threaten. I just told them the truth, that I'd been difficult, that I'd prioritized results over relationships, that I wanted to change. And I told them about you. About me. I told them that a waiter at a restaurant had taught me more about leadership in one night than I'd learned in 20 years of running companies. I told them that I'd been humbled and that I was grateful for it. Diana shook her head. You should have seen their faces. They didn't know what to do with me. They expected the Diana Whitmore who tears people apart. They got someone else entirely. And they voted to keep you by a margin of 9-3. The 3 who voted against me are the same 3 who've been trying to push me out for years. They'll keep trying, but they won't succeed. Marcus sat with this information. The picture was coming into focus. Not a fairy tale, but something real, something complicated, something possible. I need to talk to Lily, he said. Before I decide, I need to explain to her what this would mean. Of course. And I need a few more days. Take whatever time you need. But Diana... Marcus turned to face her fully. If I do this, if I take this job, I need you to understand something. I'm not doing it for you. I'm not doing it because you were kind to me, or because I feel like I owe you anything. I'm doing it for my daughter, because this is the best chance I have to give her the life she deserves. I understand. And if I ever feel like this job is taking me away from her, I'll walk, no matter how much it pays, no matter what it means for my career. She comes first, always. Diana nodded. I wouldn't expect anything less. In fact, that's exactly why I want you, because you know what really matters. They sat in silence for a moment. The fountain burbled, birds sang in the trees overhead. Can I ask you something? Diana said. Sure. Your wife, Angela. What was she like? The question caught Marcus off guard. He was quiet for a long moment, remembering. She was the best person I ever knew, he said finally. Not perfect. She had a temper. She was stubborn. She couldn't cook to save her life. He smiled at the memory. But she was kind. Genuinely deeply kind. The kind of person who stopped to help strangers. The kind of person who remembered everyone's birthday. The kind of person who made you feel like you were the most important person in the room just by the way she looked at you. She sounds wonderful. She was. She really was. Marcus paused. When she died, I thought I would die too. Not literally, but something in me shut down. I went through the motions. I took care of Lily. I went to work. But I wasn't really there. I was just surviving. And now. Marcus considered the question. Now I think I'm starting to wake up. What happened that night at the restaurant? The way you treated me? The way I responded? It reminded me of something I'd forgotten. What? That I'm still here. That I'm still fighting. That I haven't given up even when I wanted to. He looked at Diana. You were cruel to me that night, but you were also honest. And when I pushed back, you were brave enough to hear it. That's rare. In my experience, that's really rare. Diana's eyes were wet. I spent 30 years being cruel to people, telling myself it was necessary, that it was just business, that feelings didn't matter as long as the numbers were right. She shook her head. I was wrong. Feelings are the only thing that matters. Everything else is just noise. It's not too late to do things differently. You keep saying that, because I keep believing it. Diana laughed softly. You're a stubborn man, Marcus Thompson. I've been told. They stood up together. Diana extended her hand and Marcus shook it. Take your time, she said. Talk to Lily, think it over. And when you're ready, call me. I will. Diana started to walk away, then stopped. She turned back. Marcus, thank you. For what? For not letting me get away with it. For demanding better. For showing me that it's possible to be strong and kind at the same time. She paused. You're going to do great things, with or without me. I just hope I get to be there to see them. She walked away. Marcus stood alone in the garden, the folder in his hands, the weight of possibility pressing down on him. He thought about Angela, about what she would say if she could see him now, and he knew with a certainty that surprised him exactly what she would say. Take the leap, baby. I've got you. He smiled, tucked the folder under his arm, and walked home to talk to his daughter. That evening, Marcus sat on Lily's bed, the folder beside him, his daughter looking at him with curious eyes. Daddy, you said you had something important to tell me. I do, baby. It's about work. Did you get in trouble? No, the opposite actually. He took a deep breath. Someone offered me a new job. A really good job. One that pays a lot more money and has better insurance. Lily's face lit up. Does that mean you don't have to work 3 jobs anymore? If I take it, yes. I'd only have 1 job, and I'd be home more. A lot more. Really? Her voice was small, hopeful, almost afraid to believe it. Really? Would you still have to leave at night? Sometimes, but not like now, not every night. Would you be here when I wake up? Most days, yes. Lily threw her arms around him. Take it, Daddy. Please take it. Marcus held her tight, his heart breaking and healing at the same time. I wanted to talk to you first, he said into her hair. I wanted to make sure you were okay with it. Lily pulled back and looked at him with an expression that was so much older than her 8 years. Daddy, I just want you to be happy. You've been so sad for so long. If this job makes you happy, then I want you to have it. Where did you learn to be so wise? Mama taught me. Marcus felt tears streaming down his face. Yeah, she did, didn't she? She said that family takes care of each other. She said that when someone you love is hurting you, do whatever you can to help them feel better. Lily wiped her own eyes. You've been taking care of me, Daddy. Now let someone take care of you. Marcus couldn't speak. The words were stuck in his throat, blocked by 2 years of grief and exhaustion and love. Okay, he finally managed. Okay, I'll take it. Lily smiled. That bright, beautiful Angela smile that made everything in the world feel possible. Good, she said. Now can we have ice cream to celebrate? Marcus laughed through his tears. It's a school night. So. He pretended to think about it. So let's have ice cream. Lily cheered and jumped off the bed, running toward the kitchen. Marcus followed her, his heart lighter than it had been in years. He had made his decision. Now he just had to see it through. The next morning, Marcus called Diana. "I'm in," he said. There was a moment of silence on the other end. Then Diana's voice, warm and relieved. "You're sure?" "I'm sure. I talked to Lily. She told me to take it." "Smart girl." "The smartest." Marcus paused. "When do you want me to start?" "How's Monday, Paul?" "Monday works. I'll have HR send over the paperwork today. You'll need to sign some things, complete some forms. Standard stuff." "I understand." "And Marcus, welcome to Whitmore Enterprises. I think we're going to do great things together." "I hope so." He hung up and stood in the middle of his tiny kitchen, the morning light streaming through the window, the smell of coffee filling the air. It was done. In 1 week, he would start a new job. In 1 month, Lily's surgery would be scheduled. In 1 year, everything about their lives could be different. Marcus closed his eyes and let himself feel it. The relief, the hope, the terror. All of it. He had taken the leap. Now he had to trust that someone would catch him. Monday came faster than Marcus expected. He stood outside the Whitmore Enterprises headquarters at 8:47 a.m., wearing the only suit he still owned. It was the same suit he'd worn to Angela's funeral, and putting it on that morning had felt like both an ending and a beginning. The building was 43 stories of glass and steel, the kind of structure that announced its importance before you even walked through the doors. Marcus had walked past buildings like this 1,000 times on his way to his restaurant shifts. He'd never imagined he would walk into one as anything other than a delivery person or a caterer. He took a deep breath. "Okay, Angela," he whispered. "Here we go." The lobby was massive. Marble floors, high ceilings, the kind of artwork on the walls that probably cost more than Marcus would make in 5 years. A security guard nodded at him as he approached the front desk. "Marcus Thompson. I'm here to see Diana Whitmore." The receptionist typed something into her computer, then looked up with a practiced smile. "Yes, Mr. Thompson. You're expected. Take the elevator to the 42nd floor. Ms. Whitmore's assistant will meet you." Mr. Thompson. He hadn't been called that in years. The elevator ride felt like an ascent into another world. With each floor that passed, Marcus felt the weight of what he was doing settle more heavily on his shoulders. This wasn't just a job. This was a transformation, a complete restructuring of the life he'd been living for 2 years. The doors opened and a young woman was waiting for him. Professional, poised with a tablet in her hand and an earpiece in her ear. "Mr. Thompson, I'm Sarah, Ms. Whitmore's executive assistant. Welcome to Whitmore Enterprises." "Thank you. Ms. Whitmore is finishing up a call. She asked me to show you to your office first." "Your office." The words felt foreign. Sarah led him down a corridor lined with glass-walled offices, each one occupied by people who looked like they belonged here. People in expensive clothes, with expensive haircuts, talking on phones, typing on computers, moving with the kind of confidence that came from knowing exactly where they fit in the world. Marcus didn't feel that confidence. Not yet. "Here we are," Sarah said, stopping in front of a corner office. "This is yours." Marcus stepped inside. The office was bigger than his entire apartment. Floor-to-ceiling windows with a view of the city. A mahogany desk. Leather chairs. A couch. His own private bathroom. "There must be some mistake," he said. "No mistake. Ms. Whitmore specifically requested this office for you. She said you'd earned it." Marcus turned in a slow circle, taking it all in. On the desk, there was a framed photo. He walked over and picked it up. It was a picture of Lily. The one from her last school photo with her big smile and her hair in 2 braids. Someone had printed it and put it in a beautiful silver frame. There was a note next to it in Diana's handwriting. "So she can be with you every day. Welcome to the team. D." Marcus set the photo down carefully. His throat was tight. "Mr. Thompson." Sarah was watching him with a curious expression. "Are you all right?" Yeah, I'm fine." He cleared his throat. "When can I see Ms. Whitmore? She should be ready now. Follow me." Diana's office was at the end of the hall, twice the size of Marcus's, with windows on 3 sides and a view that stretched to the horizon. She was standing by the window when they entered, her phone pressed to her ear. "I understand that, Richard, but the answer is still no. We're not selling the Miami property, and we're not renegotiating the terms." A pause. "Because I said so. That's why." Another pause. "Goodbye, Richard." She hung up and turned to face Marcus, with a smile that transformed her entire face. "You came." "I said I would." "I know, but saying and doing are different things." Diana crossed the room and shook his hand. "How do you like your office?" "It's too much." "It's exactly right. You're a director now. Directors get corner offices." She gestured to a seating area with 2 leather couches. "Sit. We have a lot to discuss." They sat across from each other, and Diana handed him a thick folder. "This is your orientation package. Organizational charts, property profiles, current customer satisfaction data, training protocols, everything you need to understand what we're working with." Marcus opened the folder and began scanning the contents. "How bad is it?" "Our customer satisfaction scores are at 73%. Industry average is 81. Luxury tier average is 87. We're significantly below where we should be." "Do you know why?" "That's what I'm hoping you can figure out. We've tried everything. New training programs, incentive structures, mystery shoppers. Nothing moves the needle. Have you tried asking your employees what they think?" Diana paused. "What do you mean?" "I mean, have you actually talked to the people on the ground? The housekeepers, the front desk clerks, the waiters. Ask them what's working and what isn't." "We have feedback systems in place." "That's not the same thing. Feedback systems are forms, surveys, data points. I'm talking about conversations. Face-to-face, human-to-human conversations where you actually listen to what people are saying." Diana was quiet for a moment. "No, we haven't done that." "Then that's where we start." Over the next 3 weeks, Marcus threw himself into the job with an intensity that surprised even himself. He visited 12 Whitmore properties in 14 days. Hotels in New York, Miami, Chicago, Los Angeles. He didn't announce himself. Didn't come with an entourage. He just showed up, introduced himself as a new member of the corporate team, and started talking to people. He talked to housekeepers who told him they weren't given enough time to properly clean rooms, so they cut corners and felt ashamed of it. He talked to front desk clerks who said they were penalized for taking too long with guests, even when those guests needed extra help. He talked to restaurant servers who described training programs that taught scripts instead of genuine hospitality. And he listened, really listened. Not like a boss looking for problems to fix, but like a person trying to understand. "You know what the worst part is?" a housekeeper in Chicago named Rosa told him. "They never ask us what we think. We're invisible to them. We make the beds and clean the toilets, and they don't even know our names." "What's your name?" "Rosa. Rosa Hernandez." "How long have you worked here, Rosa?" 12 years. 12 years. And no one has ever asked your opinion about how to do your job better. Never. Not once. Marcus wrote everything down. Pages and pages of notes. Problems he'd never seen in any report. Solutions that had never been considered. Ideas from the people who actually did the work every day. When he got back to New York, he went straight to Diana's office. "We need to talk." Diana looked up from her computer. "You look exhausted." "I am exhausted, but I also have answers." He spread his notes across her conference table, explaining everything he'd learned. The unrealistic time pressures. The script-based training that stripped away genuine human connection. The culture of invisibility that made frontline workers feel like cogs in a machine rather than valued members of a team. Your employees aren't the problem, Marcus said. Your system is. You've built a machine that treats hospitality like a manufacturing process. But hospitality isn't manufacturing. It's human connection. And you can't systematize human connection. Diana studied the notes for a long time. What do you recommend? We rebuild from the ground up. New training programs that focus on empathy instead of efficiency. New metrics that measure guest satisfaction over transaction speed. And most importantly, we start treating our frontline employees like the experts they are. That's going to cost money. It's going to make money. Happy employees create happy guests. Happy guests come back. They recommend you to their friends. They leave positive reviews. They become loyal customers for life. Marcus leaned forward. I've seen it work, Diana. At the restaurant where I worked, the servers who treated guests like human beings got better tips, better reviews, and better retention. The ones who followed the script got complaints. Diana was quiet for a long moment. This is what I hired you for, she said finally. Do it. Whatever you need, whatever resources, whatever support. Make it happen. Marcus felt a surge of something he hadn't felt in years. Purpose. Real, tangible purpose. I'll need a team. Build one. And I'll need authority to make changes without going through 17 levels of approval. You'll have it. And I'll need time. This isn't going to happen overnight. Real change takes months, maybe years. Diana nodded. Take whatever time you need. I trust you. Trust. There was that word again. Marcus still wasn't entirely comfortable with it. Thank you, he said. I won't let you down. I know you won't. The surgery was scheduled for the 3rd week of November. Dr. Patterson called Marcus personally to give him the news. The insurance had been processed. Everything was covered. Lily would be admitted on a Tuesday, have the procedure on Wednesday, and if everything went well, be home by the following Monday. Marcus hung up the phone and sat in his new office staring out the window at the city below. It was happening. After 2 years of fighting, of scraping, of lying awake at night, doing impossible math, it was actually happening. He called Lily's school and told them she'd be out for 2 weeks. He called Mrs. Patterson and asked her to be available for the recovery period. He called Diana and requested time off, which she granted immediately without asking for details. And then he went home and told Lily. The doctors are going to fix my heart, she asked, her eyes wide. Yes, baby, they're going to fix it. Will it hurt? Maybe a little. But they'll give you medicine so you won't feel it. And I'll be there the whole time. I won't leave your side. Lily was quiet for a moment. Daddy, am I going to die? The question hit Marcus like a physical blow. He knelt down so he was at her level, took her small hands in his. No, baby. You're not going to die. The doctors are very good at what they do. They do this surgery all the time, and you're the strongest, bravest girl I know. But what if something goes wrong? Then the doctors will fix it. That's their job. And my job is to be right there with you, holding your hand, making sure you're okay. Will Mama be watching? Marcus felt tears prick his eyes. Yeah, baby. Mama will be watching. She's always watching. Lily nodded slowly, processing this. Then she looked up at him with a determined expression that was so much like Angela, it made his heart ache. Okay, she said. I'm ready. That's my girl. The night before the surgery, Marcus couldn't sleep. He lay in his bed, staring at the ceiling, his mind racing through every possible outcome. The surgery was routine, Dr. Patterson had said. High success rate. Low risk of complications. Lily was young and otherwise healthy. Everything pointed to a positive outcome. But Marcus had learned not to trust positive outcomes. He'd learned that life could change in an instant. That the person you loved most in the world could walk out the door one night and never come back. Around 2 a.m., his phone buzzed. A text from Diana. Can't sleep either. Thinking about you and Lily. Whatever happens tomorrow, you're not alone. Marcus stared at the message for a long time. Then he typed back, "Thank you for everything. Don't thank me yet. Thank me when she's home and healthy and running around like nothing happened. I will. Get some rest, Marcus. Tomorrow's a big day." He put the phone down and closed his eyes. Sleep still didn't come, but something else did. A feeling of calm, of acceptance, of being held by something larger than himself. Angela, he thought, if you're out there, if you can hear me, please watch over our baby girl tomorrow. Please keep her safe. I can't lose her too. I can't. No answer came, but Marcus felt somehow that he'd been heard. The hospital was cold and bright. Marcus held Lily's hand as they wheeled her toward the operating room. She was wearing a hospital gown with cartoon animals on it, and her eyes were heavy from the sedative they'd given her. "Daddy, I'm here, baby. Don't leave." "I won't. I'll be right here when you wake up. Promise." "I promise." The doors of the operating room loomed ahead. A nurse appeared at Marcus's side. "Mr. Thompson, this is as far as you can go. We'll take good care of her." Marcus leaned down and kissed Lily's forehead. "I love you, baby girl. More than anything in the world." "I love you too, Daddy." The nurse began to wheel her away. Lily lifted her small hand in a wave. "See you soon, Daddy." "See you soon, baby." The doors closed behind her. Marcus stood frozen in the hallway, his heart pounding, his hands shaking. A doctor walking past gave him a sympathetic look. A mother with a crying child rushed by without noticing him at all. He was alone. No, not alone. His phone buzzed. A message from Mrs. Patterson. "Praying for Lily. She's going to be fine. I know it." Another message from Tony, his friend from the restaurant. "Heard about the surgery. Good luck, man. She's a fighter, just like her dad." Another message from Sarah Diana's assistant. "Ms. Whitmore wanted me to let you know she's thinking of you today." And then a final message from Diana herself. "I'm in the waiting room. I hope that's okay. I didn't want you to be alone." Marcus looked up from his phone, scanning the hallway. He walked toward the waiting area, and there she was sitting in a plastic chair, looking as out of place in her designer clothes as he'd felt in her office that first day. "Diana, what are you doing here?" She stood up. "I told you, I didn't want you to be alone." "You didn't have to." "I know I didn't have to. I wanted to." She gestured to the chair beside her. "Sit. The surgery will take a few hours. You might as well be comfortable." Marcus sat. His legs felt weak anyway. "Have you eaten anything today?" Diana asked. "No." "I figured. Here." She pulled a paper bag from her purse. "Croissant from the bakery near my apartment. It's probably cold by now, but it's better than nothing." Marcus took the bag but didn't open it. "Why are you doing this?" "Doing what?" "All of it. The job, the insurance, sitting here in a hospital waiting room. You barely know me." Diana was quiet for a moment. When she spoke, her voice was softer than he'd ever heard it. "Do you remember what you said to me that night at the restaurant? You said that your wife believed hurt people, and the only way to break the cycle is to respond to pain with compassion instead of more pain." "I remember. That stayed with me. It's been echoing in my head for weeks." She turned to look at him. "I've been a hurt person for a long time, Marcus. I've been hurting other people because I didn't know how to do anything else. But you showed me another way. You showed me that it's possible to be strong and kind at the same time, that you don't have to choose between protecting yourself and caring for others." "I was just trying to get through my shift." "No. You were being who you are. A good man, a good father, the kind of person who treats everyone with dignity, even when they don't deserve it." Marcus looked down at the paper bag in his hands. Angela used to say that the measure of a person isn't how they treat their equals. It's how they treat the people who can't do anything for them. She was right. She was always right. About everything." He paused. "I miss her so much." "I know." They sat in silence for a while. Around them the hospital hummed with its own rhythm. Doctors being paged over the intercom, nurses hurrying past with clipboards, families sitting in clusters, some talking quietly, others staring at phones, others just waiting. "Can I tell you something?" Diana said eventually. "Sure." "Katie's coming to visit next week. We've been talking every day since that first call. She told me about her life, her boyfriend, her job. She's a teacher. Did you know that 3rd grade? That's wonderful. She said she became a teacher because she wanted to do something that mattered, something where she could make a difference in people's lives." Diana's voice caught. "She said she didn't want to end up like me." "Diana, it's okay. She was right. I spent 30 years chasing success, and I never stopped to think about what I was sacrificing to get it. My marriage, my daughter, any kind of life outside of work." She shook her head. "But it's not too late. You taught me that. It's not too late to do things differently." Marcus didn't know what to say, so he just reached over and took her hand. Diana looked down at their intertwined fingers, surprised. Then she squeezed back. They sat like that for a long time, two people who'd found each other in the most unlikely circumstances, holding on to hope together. The surgery took 4 hours. 4 hours of Marcus staring at the clock, watching the minutes crawl by, feeling his heart stop every time someone in scrubs walked through the door. Diana stayed the whole time. She got him coffee when he couldn't sit still. She talked to him about nothing when the silence got too heavy. She let him be quiet when he didn't have words. At 3:47 p.m., Dr. Patterson came through the doors, still wearing her surgical cap. Marcus stood up so fast he knocked over his coffee. "How is she? Is she okay?" "What happened?" Dr. Patterson smiled. "She's fine, Marcus. The surgery was a complete success. We repaired the hole in her heart, and her vitals are strong. She's going to make a full recovery." Marcus felt his knees give out. He grabbed the back of the chair to steady himself. "She's okay. She's perfect. You can see her in about an hour once she's settled in recovery." "Thank you. Thank you so much." Dr. Patterson patted his arm. "She's a strong kid. And she kept talking about you before we put her under, telling everyone that her daddy was a superhero." Marcus laughed through his tears. "She said that." "She did. You should be proud." "I am. God, I am." Dr. Patterson walked away, and Marcus collapsed into the chair. Diana put a hand on his shoulder. "She's okay," Diana said softly. "She made it." Marcus buried his face in his hands and cried. All the fear of the past 2 years, all the sleepless nights, all the impossible math and the 3 jobs and the weight of carrying everything alone. It all came pouring out of him in that plastic chair in that hospital waiting room. He cried for Angela, who should have been here. He cried for Lily, who had been so brave. He cried for himself, for the man who'd been drowning for so long and was finally coming up for air. Diana didn't say anything. She just sat beside him, her hand on his back, letting him feel everything he'd been holding in for so long. When he finally lifted his head, his eyes were red and his face was wet, but something in him had shifted. "I'm sorry," he said. "Don't be. I haven't cried like that since Angela's funeral. Sometimes you need to. Sometimes that's the only way to let it out." Marcus wiped his face with his hands. "I should call Mrs. Patterson and Tony and—" "I already texted them. They know she's okay." He looked at her. "You didn't have to do that." "I know, but you needed a minute. So I handled it. Thank you, Diana. For everything. I mean it. You've thanked me enough. Now stop thanking me and go get ready to see your daughter." An hour later, Marcus walked into Lily's recovery room. She was lying in a bed that looked too big for her small body, connected to monitors that beeped and hummed. Her eyes were closed, her breathing steady. Marcus pulled a chair up beside her bed and took her hand. "Hey, baby girl. It's Daddy. I'm here." Lily stirred. Her eyes fluttered open. Daddy, I'm here. I told you I wouldn't leave. Did they fix my heart? They fixed it. You're going to be okay. A slow smile spread across Lily's face. I told the nurses you were a superhero. I heard. You are Daddy. You're my superhero. Marcus leaned forward and kissed her forehead. No, baby, you're the superhero. You were so brave. I wasn't scared. Really? Okay, maybe a little. But I remembered what you said. That I'm the strongest, bravest girl you know. So I tried to be strong. Marcus felt fresh tears streaming down his face. But he didn't care. You were baby. You were so strong. Lily's eyes started to close again. Daddy, will you stay? I'm not going anywhere. Good. I missed you. I missed you too, baby girl, so much. Within moments, Lily was asleep again. Marcus sat beside her, holding her hand, watching her breathe. In, out, in, out. The rhythm of life, the rhythm of hope, the rhythm of a future that finally, after 2 years of darkness, seemed bright. Diana appeared in the doorway. She didn't come in, just stood there watching. Marcus looked up at her. Thank you, he said again. I know I keep saying it, but I told you to stop thanking me. I can't. I don't know how to stop. Diana smiled. Then I'll accept it. This once. She paused. I'm going to go. Give you two some privacy. But call me if you need anything, day or night. I will. Diana took one last look at Lily sleeping peacefully in her hospital bed, and something passed across her face. Something that looked like longing, like regret, like a wish for something she'd lost long ago. Then she was gone. Marcus turned back to his daughter. He reached out and brushed a strand of hair from her forehead. Your mama would be so proud of you, baby. So proud. He closed his eyes and let himself feel it all. The gratitude, the relief, the overwhelming love. For the first time in 2 years, Marcus Thompson felt like himself again. Lily came home on a Monday. Marcus carried her up the stairs of their apartment building, even though she insisted she could walk. She was 9 pounds lighter than before the surgery, pale and tired, but her eyes were bright and her smile was real. Daddy, I can walk. I know you can, but I want to carry you. Why? Because I missed carrying you, and because you're my baby girl and I'm allowed. Lily giggled and wrapped her arms around his neck. You're silly. I know. Mrs. Patterson was waiting at the apartment door with balloons and a banner that read, Welcome Home Lily, in bright purple letters. Lily's eyes went wide. Is that for me? No, it's for the other Lily who just had heart surgery, Mrs. Patterson said with a wink. Of course it's for you, sweetheart. Marcus set Lily down gently on the couch, propping pillows around her like she was made of glass. She rolled her eyes. Daddy, I'm not going to break. Humor me. Mrs. Patterson brought out a plate of cookies, homemade chocolate chip, Lily's favorite. They sat together in the small living room, eating cookies and talking about nothing in particular, and Marcus felt something he hadn't felt in years. Peace. Real, genuine peace. That night, after Lily had fallen asleep in her own bed for the first time in a week, Marcus stood in the hallway and just listened. To the sound of her breathing. To the quiet hum of the heart monitor that would stay for another month just to be safe. To the city outside the window, still moving, still alive. His phone buzzed. A text from Diana. How is she? Home, safe, sleeping. Good. Get some rest yourself. You've earned it. I will. Thank you, Diana. Stop thanking me. That's an order. Marcus smiled and put the phone away. He walked to his own room, lay down on his bed, and for the first time in 2 years, fell asleep within minutes. No nightmares, no racing thoughts, no impossible math, just sleep. 6 months passed. Lily's recovery was everything Dr. Patterson had promised, and more. Within weeks, she was back at school. Within months, she was running around the playground like nothing had ever happened. The scar on her chest faded from angry red to soft pink, a permanent reminder of what she'd survived. "Daddy, look!" she shouted one afternoon, racing across the park near their new apartment. Their new apartment, 3 bedrooms in a building with an elevator and a doorman and a view of the river. "I can run faster than Tommy. I see that, baby. Don't go too far." Marcus watched her from a bench, his heart full in a way he'd almost forgotten was possible. She was healthy. She was happy. She was alive. Everything else was just details. His job at Whitmore Enterprises had exceeded every expectation, including his own. The customer experience program he'd built from the ground up was showing results. Satisfaction scores had climbed from 73% to 82% in just 6 months. Employee retention was up. Complaints were down. 3 different industry publications had requested interviews about the Whitmore revolution in hospitality. But the numbers weren't what mattered most to Marcus. What mattered were the stories. Rosa, the housekeeper in Chicago, who'd worked for 12 years without anyone asking her opinion, had been promoted to housekeeping supervisor. She'd sent Marcus a handwritten note thanking him for seeing her. A front desk clerk in Miami named James had written to say that the new training program had changed how he thought about his job. "For the first time," he wrote, "I feel like I matter." A server at one of the hotel restaurants, a young woman working her way through college, had told Marcus that his story had inspired her. "If you can go from waiter to director," she said, "maybe I can too." These were the victories that meant something. Not the numbers on a spreadsheet, but the lives being changed. The dignity being restored. The cycle of invisibility being broken one person at a time. Diana had noticed too. "You've done something remarkable," she told him during one of their weekly meetings. "Something I couldn't have done in 100 years. "You could have. You just needed to see it differently." "That's what I mean. I've been running companies for 30 years, and I never once thought to ask the housekeepers what they thought. It never occurred to me that they might have insights I didn't." "That's because you were taught that leadership means having all the answers, but real leadership means knowing which questions to ask." Diana smiled. "You sound like a business book." Angela used to say that. She said I talked like a motivational poster sometimes. "She sounds like she kept you humble." "She did, every single day." Marcus paused. "I wish you could have met her." "Me too. I think we would have gotten along." "She would have liked you. Once she got past the part where you screamed at me in a restaurant." Diana laughed a real laugh, the kind Marcus had heard more and more often in recent months. "Fair enough." 1 year after that night at the restaurant, Diana called Marcus into her office for what she described as an important conversation. He walked in expecting a performance review or a new project assignment. Instead, he found Diana standing by the window, looking out at the city, her expression unreadable. "Close the door," she said, "and sit down." Marcus did as she asked, his mind racing through possibilities. Had he done something wrong? Was the board unhappy? Was she going to fire him? Diana turned to face him. "Do you remember what you said to me that first night, when you were standing up to me in the restaurant?" "I said a lot of things that night." "You said that I could be the richest person in the world, and it wouldn't give me the right to treat you like you were less than human. You said that wealth doesn't buy permission to be cruel." "I remember." Diana walked to her desk and picked up a folder. "I've been thinking about that a lot lately. About what wealth does and doesn't buy. About what I've done with mine." She paused. "I've made a lot of money, Marcus. More than I could ever spend. More than my children's children could ever spend. And for most of my life, I thought that was the point. Accumulate. Grow. Win. And now? Now I'm not so sure." She handed him the folder. "Open it." Marcus opened the folder. Inside was a legal document dense with text and signatures. He scanned it, not quite understanding what he was seeing. "This is a foundation. The Angela Thompson Foundation for Dignity and Service. I'm endowing it with $50 million to start with provisions for additional funding over time. Marcus stared at her. I don't understand. It's named after your wife. It will provide scholarships for service workers who want to advance their education. It will fund training programs that teach dignity-based hospitality. It will support families dealing with medical emergencies, especially those who fall into the gap between making too much to qualify for assistance and too little to afford care. Diana's voice was steady, but her eyes were bright. It will do what you've been doing at Whitmore, but on a larger scale, across the entire industry. Marcus looked down at the document, his hands trembling. Angela's name, he said quietly. I thought it was fitting. She taught you to be the man you are, and you taught me to be better than I was. It seemed right that her legacy should be part of this. Diana, I don't know what to say. Say you'll run it. The foundation needs a director, someone who understands what it's trying to accomplish, someone who's lived it. She paused. I can't think of anyone better than you. Marcus was silent for a long moment. The weight of what she was offering pressed down on him, but it wasn't a burden. It was something else, something that felt like purpose. Why? He asked finally. Why are you doing this? Because you were right. That night at the restaurant when you told me that I was treating you like you were less than human. You were right. And I've spent the last year trying to figure out how to make up for all the times I did that to other people. All the times I looked through them like they were invisible. All the times I made them feel small because I could. Diana sat down across from him. This won't erase any of that. I know that. But maybe it can prevent someone else from being treated the way I treated you. Maybe it can create a world where people like Rosa and James and that server working her way through college don't have to fight so hard just to be seen. Marcus looked at her, really looked. The woman sitting in front of him was not the same woman who had screamed at him over garnish a year ago. She was softer, more open, more human. You've changed, he said. I'm trying to. No, I mean it. You've really changed. Diana smiled, but there was sadness in it. I had a good teacher, and I had 57 years of mistakes to learn from. She paused. Will you do it? Will you run the foundation? Marcus didn't hesitate. Yes. The launch of the Angela Thompson Foundation was held on a warm evening in May, exactly 1 year, and 1 day after Marcus had told Diana Whitmore that if she shouted at him again, their interaction was over. The event was held at one of Whitmore's flagship hotels. The ballroom transformed into an elegant celebration of possibility. Industry leaders mingled with service workers. CEOs talked with housekeepers. The invisible people had been invited to the table, and they had come. Marcus stood at the podium, looking out at the crowd. Lily was in the front row wearing a new dress and grinning from ear to ear. Mrs. Patterson sat beside her, dabbing her eyes with a handkerchief. Diana was nearby with her daughter Katie, who had flown in from Chicago for the event. 1 year ago, Marcus began. I was a waiter. I worked 3 jobs to pay for my daughter's medical care. I was exhausted and scared and barely holding on. The room was silent. 1 year ago, I met a woman who was having the worst day of her life. She took it out on me. She screamed at me in front of a room full of people. She treated me like I was invisible, like I was less than human. Marcus paused, looking at Diana. She met his eyes and nodded slightly. I could have taken it. I'd taken it before. I'd learned to smile through abuse, to swallow my dignity, to tell myself that it was just part of the job. But that night, something in me broke. Or maybe something in me finally healed. I don't know which. All I know is that I looked at that woman and I said 6 words that changed my life. He took a breath. Shout at me again, and this ends. A murmur went through the crowd. I expected to be fired. I expected her to destroy me. Instead, she apologized. She listened. She saw me. And then she offered me an opportunity that I never could have imagined. Marcus gestured to Diana. Diana Whitmore taught me something important this past year. She taught me that people can change, that it's never too late to do things differently, that the mistakes we make don't have to define us as long as we're willing to learn from them. Diana's eyes were glistening. This foundation is named after my wife, Angela. She died 2 years ago, but her spirit is in everything I do. She taught me that dignity isn't something you earn with money or status. It's something every person deserves just by being alive. She taught me that the measure of a person isn't how they treat their equals, but how they treat the people who can't do anything for them. Marcus looked at Lily, who was watching him with those big brown eyes. Angela also taught me that love is the most powerful force in the world. Love for a partner. Love for a child. Love for strangers you've never met. It's love that makes us stand up for ourselves. It's love that makes us fight for others. It's love that breaks the cycle of hurt and creates something better. He straightened his shoulders. The Angela Thompson Foundation exists to spread that love. To remind every housekeeper and server and front desk clerk that they matter, that their dignity is non-negotiable, that they deserve to be seen. Marcus paused, letting the words settle. My daughter Lily is here tonight. A year ago she needed heart surgery that I couldn't afford. Today she's healthy and strong and has her whole life ahead of her. She survived because people believed in us. Because Diana Whitmore chose compassion over cruelty. Because sometimes when you refuse to accept being treated as less than human, the whole world changes. He looked out at the crowd one last time. I'm not here to tell you that standing up for yourself will always lead to a happy ending. Sometimes it won't. Sometimes you'll lose your job or your security or your peace of mind. But I am here to tell you that your dignity is worth fighting for. That you are worth fighting for. And that every time you refuse to shrink, you make it a little bit easier for the next person to stand tall. Marcus stepped back from the podium. Thank you, all of you, for being here, for believing that things can change, for proving that they already have. The room erupted in applause. Lily jumped out of her seat and ran to him, throwing her arms around his waist. Marcus lifted her up and held her close, the sound of the applause washing over them like a wave. Diana approached Katie beside her. The two women were holding hands, something Marcus had never seen before. That was beautiful, Diana said. It was true. That's what made it beautiful. Katie stepped forward. She looked like Diana's same sharp features and intelligent eyes, but there was a warmth in her expression that Diana was only now learning to show. Mr. Thompson, I wanted to thank you for what you did for my mom, for giving her back to me. Marcus set Lily down. She did the work. I just reminded her that it was possible. That's not nothing. That's everything. Katie smiled. She talks about you all the time. She says you're the best decision she ever made. Diana looked slightly embarrassed. Katie? It's true. She literally said that yesterday. Marcus Thompson is the best decision I ever made. Direct quote. Marcus laughed. Well, I don't know about that. I do, Diana said, and I stand by it. The party continued late into the night. Marcus talked to hotel workers who told him their stories. He talked to executives who wanted to replicate the Whitmore model at their own companies. He talked to journalists who wanted to write about the waiter who changed an industry. But the conversation that mattered most happened at the end of the evening, when the guests had gone and the ballroom was nearly empty. Lily was asleep in a chair, exhausted from the excitement. Marcus sat beside her, watching her breathe when Diana approached. I have something for you, she said. A gift. Diana, you've given me enough. This is different. She handed him an envelope. Open it. Marcus opened the envelope. Inside was a photograph. It took him a moment to understand what he was seeing. It was Angela. Angela on their wedding day, laughing at something off camera, her veil caught by the wind. Angela holding newborn Lily, tears of joy streaming down her face. Angela at a backyard barbecue, spatula in hand, grinning at whoever was taking the picture. There were dozens of photos. Photos Marcus had thought were lost when he'd sold the house and moved. Photos he'd given up on ever seeing again. How did you get these? His voice was barely a whisper. "I hired someone to track them down. The people who bought your house had stored some boxes in their attic. They didn't realize what was in them." Diana paused. "I know it doesn't bring her back. Nothing can do that. But I thought Lily might want to see them someday, to know who her mother was." Marcus couldn't speak. He was holding the photos like they were made of gold. His hands trembling, tears streaming down his face. "Thank you," he finally managed. "Diana, I can't." "You don't have to say anything. Just take them. Give them to Lily when she's old enough to understand." Marcus looked up at her through his tears. "You're a good person, Diana Whitmore. I know you don't believe that. But you are. I'm trying to be. That's the best any of us can do." She squeezed his shoulder and walked away, leaving Marcus alone with his sleeping daughter and his memories of the woman he'd loved. He looked down at the photos again. Angela's face, frozen in moments of joy he'd thought he'd never see again. "I did it, Angela," he whispered. "I kept my promise. I took care of our baby girl. And I found people who helped me carry the load." The photo in his hand showed Angela on their last anniversary 6 months before the accident. She was looking directly at the camera, her eyes full of love, her smile radiant. "I miss you," Marcus said. "Every single day. But I'm okay now. We're okay. Lily's healthy and happy and growing up to be just like you." He pressed the photo to his chest. "Thank you for teaching me how to love, how to fight, how to stand up for myself even when I was scared. Everything good in my life started with you." Lily stirred in her sleep. "Daddy." "I'm here, baby." "Are you okay?" "I'm more than okay." He stroked her hair. "I'm grateful." "For what?" "For everything. For you. For this life. For every moment we have together." Lily smiled sleepily and nestled closer to him. "I love you, Daddy. I love you more, baby girl. Forever and always." Marcus sat there for a long time, holding his daughter, holding his memories, holding the life he'd built from the ashes of the one he'd lost. 2 years after Angela's death. 1 year after that night at the restaurant. And everything had changed. He wasn't a waiter anymore. He wasn't drowning in debt. He wasn't lying awake at night doing impossible math. He was a father, a leader, a man who had stood up for his dignity and discovered that sometimes when you refuse to be invisible, the world finally sees you. The next morning, Marcus woke up early and made breakfast for Lily. Pancakes with strawberries, her favorite. She came padding into the kitchen in her pajamas, rubbing sleep from her eyes. "Daddy, you're home." "I'm home, baby, every morning from now on." Lily climbed onto her chair and watched him flip pancakes. "Daddy, can I ask you something? Always. That speech you gave last night, about standing up for yourself, about not letting people treat you bad. What about it? Did you mean it, all of it?" Marcus set down the spatula and looked at his daughter. She was growing so fast. 9 years old now, with Angela's eyes and Angela's smile, and a strength that was entirely her own. "I meant every word, baby. Even the scary parts about how sometimes standing up for yourself doesn't work out. Even the scary parts." Lily was quiet for a moment, processing this with the seriousness she brought to everything. "I think Mama would have been proud of you," she said finally. Marcus felt his heart swell. "You know what, baby, I think she would have been proud of you too." "Me." "Why me?" "Because you're brave, because you're kind, because you treat everyone with respect, even when they don't treat you the same way." He knelt down so he was at her level. "You're going to do great things, Lily Thompson. I can feel it. Like run a foundation. Like whatever you want. The world is yours, baby. You just have to go out and take it." Lily threw her arms around his neck. "I love you, Daddy. I love you more." "That's impossible. I love you infinity." "Then I love you infinity plus 1. Lily laughed that bright, beautiful sound that filled the apartment and made everything feel possible. Marcus held her tight and closed his eyes. This was his life now. Not perfect, but good. Not easy, but meaningful. A life built on dignity and love and the courage to stand up when everything inside you wanted to sit down. Angela would have been proud. Hell, Marcus was proud of himself. And that after everything was enough. The story could have ended there with Marcus and Lily in their kitchen eating pancakes and planning their future. But life doesn't end at happy moments. It keeps going. It keeps growing. It keeps surprising you. 5 years later, the Angela Thompson Foundation had trained over 50,000 hospitality workers in dignity-based service. Customer satisfaction scores across the industry had risen by an average of 15%. 3 major hotel chains had adopted the Whitmore model. 2 universities had created courses based on Marcus's approach. Marcus had written a book about his experience. It was called Dignity is Non-Negotiable, and it had spent 23 weeks on the bestseller list. He'd given talks at conferences around the world. He'd been interviewed by every major news outlet. He'd become improbably a symbol of what was possible when ordinary people refused to accept being treated as less than human. But the accomplishment he was proudest of had nothing to do with any of that. Lily was 14 now. Healthy, happy, brilliant. She was at the top of her class. She volunteered at a local hospital, helping other kids who were facing surgeries like the one she'd had. She talked about becoming a doctor someday, or maybe a teacher, or maybe both. And every night before she went to sleep, she looked at the photos of her mother that Diana had found, and remembered the woman who had loved her into existence. Diana had retired from Whitmore Enterprises 2 years earlier, handing the company over to a new generation of leaders who understood that profit and dignity weren't opposites. She spent her time now between New York and Chicago, where Katie lived with her husband and their twin daughters, Diana's grandchildren. "I missed so much with Katie," Diana told Marcus during one of their regular dinners. "I'm not going to miss anything with the twins." "Good. They deserve to know their grandmother. They deserve better than the grandmother I was planning to be, the one who showed up with expensive gifts and left before bedtime." Diana smiled. "But I'm learning. It turns out you can teach an old CEO new tricks." "You're not old." "I'm 63, Marcus." "That's not old, that's experienced." Diana laughed. "You always know the right thing to say." "Not always. But I try." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, 2 people who had found each other in the most unlikely circumstances and built something neither of them had expected. "Do you ever think about that night?" Diana asked. "The restaurant?" "Sometimes. Usually when I'm trying to remind myself how far we've come. I think about it all the time. I think about who I was. How close I came to destroying someone's life over a garnish." She shook her head. "I'm still ashamed of it." "Don't be. That night led to everything else. Without it, we wouldn't be here." "That's generous of you. It's honest. Pain can be a doorway, Diana. It can break you open so that something better can grow." Marcus paused. "Angela used to say that. She said that the worst moments of our lives are often the seeds of the best ones." She was wise. She was. God, she was. Diana reached across the table and took his hand. "She'd be so proud of you, Marcus. Of everything you've built. Of the man you've become." "I hope so. I really hope so." The last time Marcus stood at Angela's grave was on the 10th anniversary of her death. Lily was with him, 19 years old now, home from her first year of college. She stood beside him in the morning light, holding a bouquet of sunflowers, Angela's favorite. "Hi, Mama," Lily said softly. "It's been a while." Marcus let her have her moment. He watched his daughter, now a woman, talking to her mother's headstone about college and boys and her plans for the future. "I'm going to be a doctor, Mama. Can you believe it? Little Lily with the broken heart is going to fix other people's hearts. Daddy says you would think that's perfect. I think so too." She placed the sunflowers on the grave and stepped back. "I miss you, Mama. Every day. But I'm okay. Daddy took good care of me just like you knew he would. Marcus put his arm around his daughter's shoulders. She's listening, he said. I know she is. I know too, Daddy. They stood together in silence, the morning sun warming their faces, the sound of birds filling the air. Daddy, can I tell you something? Always. I'm proud of you. For everything you did. For standing up that night. For building the foundation. For raising me alone when you were scared and tired and didn't know how you were going to make it. Marcus felt tears streaming down his face. I wasn't alone, baby. I had you. We had each other. Yeah, we did. Lily hugged him tight. I love you, Daddy. Infinity. I love you more, baby girl. Infinity +1. They walked back to the car together, leaving Angela's grave behind, but carrying her with them in every step. The story of Marcus Thompson didn't end at a gravesite any more than it ended at a breakfast table, or a ballroom, or a hospital recovery room. It kept going. It kept growing. It kept inspiring. 10 years after that night at the restaurant, Marcus received an award from the National Restaurant Association for his contributions to the hospitality industry. In his acceptance speech, he told the story one more time. The waiter and the billionaire. The confrontation and the apology. The job offer that changed everything. I'm often asked what the secret is, Marcus said to the crowd of industry leaders. How did a waiter become a movement? How did one moment of courage turn into a foundation that's changed thousands of lives? He paused. The answer is simple. I refuse to be invisible. I refuse to accept that my dignity was worth less than someone else's comfort. And I refuse to believe that change was impossible. He looked out at the audience. Every single one of you has that power. The power to stand up. The power to speak out. The power to say, this is not acceptable, when someone tries to make you feel small. It doesn't require wealth or status or connections. It just requires the willingness to believe that you matter. Marcus straightened his shoulders the same way he had that night at table 7, 11 years ago. Shout at me again and this ends. Those 6 words changed my life. They can change yours too. All you have to do is say them. All you have to do is mean them. All you have to do is refuse to shrink. The audience rose to their feet applauding. Marcus looked out at them and smiled. He thought about Angela, who had taught him how to love. He thought about Lily, who had given him a reason to fight. He thought about Diana, who had proven that people could change. And he thought about all the invisible people out there, still waiting to be seen. This was his legacy. Not the awards, or the book, or the foundation, but the simple, powerful truth that every human being deserves to be treated with dignity. That truth had saved his life. And now, one story at a time, it was saving others. Marcus Thompson had started as a waiter with nothing but his pride and his love for his daughter. He had become living proof that standing up for yourself isn't just an act of defiance, it's an act of faith. Faith that the world can be better. Faith that people can change. Faith that dignity in the end always wins.